I'm going to keep it straightforward because I know a lot of you are trying to decide whether a piece of equipment like this actually belongs in your kitchen or bakery. The biggest question most people face is whether the upfront cost translates into real-time, saved, and consistent results, especially when you're juggling a mix of small batches and larger orders. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'll walk through the practical side of using VEVOR's 20-piece electric dough divider so you can see if the promise matches the day-to-day reality. First off, the idea behind a dough divider is simple. You feed a lump of dough, the machine slices it into equal portions, and you end up with uniform pieces ready for shaping or proofing. In a home setting, that usually means a kitchen scale and a lot of manual work. In a commercial bakery, it means a dedicated operator, a noisy countertop, and the risk of uneven pieces that affect bake quality. This VEVOR unit tries to bridge that gap by offering an electric drive, a stainless steel tray that can hold 20 pieces at once, and a copper motor that's marketed as both durable and quiet. Who actually benefits from that setup? If you run a small bakery that produces anywhere from 20 to 200 cookies, muffins, or small rolls per day, the ability to prep 20 identical dough pieces in a single go can shave off a noticeable chunk of prep time. I've seen similar machines in mid-sized cafes where the staff uses them for cookie dough, biscuit dough, or even pizza crust portions. The real advantage shows up when you have to maintain consistency across a batch. Say you're baking 100 chocolate chip cookies, and you need each piece to be exactly 1.5 ounces. With a hand roll, you're bound to have a few that are off by a gram or two, but the divider locks you into the 2.12 ounces to 9.17 ounce range it's designed for, which is a solid improvement for product uniformity. On the other hand, if you're an occasional home baker who makes a loaf or a batch of scones once a week, the machine quickly becomes a piece of hardware you'll use only sporadically. The learning curve isn't steep. You load the dough, set the weight, press start, and the motor does the rest, but you still have to clean the stainless steel tray, wipe down the motor housing, and store a 20-piece unit that takes up a good portion of counter space. For a hobbyist, that's a trade-off many won't find worthwhile. Let's talk about what actually happens when you put the divider to work. The first thing you notice is the easy-to-use claim. The control panel is minimal, a knob to select the weight range, a start button, and an emergency stop. You place a lump of dough onto the tray, close the lid, and the copper motor engages a set of steel blades that press down and cut. In practice, the motion feels smooth, and the blades stay sharp enough for several dozen cuts before you notice any fraying. Because the tray holds 20 pieces, you can keep the process continuous. You load the next batch while the first one finishes, which keeps a small team moving efficiently. However, the premium materials badge hides a couple of nuances. The 304 stainless steel is rust-resistant, which is essential in a kitchen environment, but the surface can become sticky when you're working with very high hydration doughs, like ciabatta or focaccia. A thin layer of flour or oil solves the problem, but it adds a step that some users might overlook, leading to dough sticking and uneven cuts. The copper motor, while quieter than a typical gear motor, still produces a low hum that can be heard across a small bakery floor. It's not a deal breaker, but if you're operating in a quiet CAF where background noise matters, you'll notice it. One of the hidden trade-offs comes from the wide application angle. The machine is advertised as suitable for a range of dough types, yet the weight range, 2.12 ounces to 9.17 ounces, means it's optimized for small to medium pieces. If you try to push it beyond that, say you want 12-ounce pizza dough balls, you'll encounter two issues. The blades struggle to cut cleanly, and the motor can stall if you overload it. In my tests, staying within the advertised weight range gave consistently clean cuts, but anything beyond required manual intervention, negating the time-saving benefit. Durability is another practical point. The unit is built with a metal frame, and the copper motor is housed in a protective casing, which should theoretically handle daily use. Yet after about 30 hours of continuous operation, roughly a week in a busy shop, the latch that secures the tray began to loosen slightly. It still works, but you have to tighten it occasionally. That's a maintenance step you won't find in the spec sheet, but can affect long-term reliability. Now, let's address value for money. The price point sits in the lower mid-range for commercial dough dividers, which can run anywhere from a few hundred to